Next time on Telling Our Stories.
I feel guilty. I felt confused. What am I guilty for? This is what I wanted to do, or I thought I wanted to do. So what's the guilt for? Am I living for me or somebody else?
So then what was the confusion?
The confusion was because the way it happened, like, that's not the way I wanted it to happen.
It wasn't consensual?
It was consensual, but it wasn't the way I wanted it to happen, because in my mind, it was laid out in a beautiful picture where you have the dinner and the date, but it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
Well, where were you coming from? Cheerleading practice and tambourine practice. You know, because a lot of the gays definitely were touched at church and on a church convention or a retreat, and you know what I mean, all this kind of stuff. Scandal erupted when 4 young men filed lawsuits accusing Bishop Eddie Long of sexual misconduct. His lifestyle was a focal point of the suits, which accused him of persuading the men to have sexual relationships with him in exchange for trips, clothes, and cars. The case was later settled for approximately $15 million. Do you think sexuality is instinctive? It's how we're wired, or do you think it's a choice? I have a cousin, I've shared this story before. I believe she was born heterosexual, but then she was raped by a group of men. And for a period of her life, she started dating women. I don't think anybody decides to be gay. I think people wake up and decide to live their truth, but I don't think anybody decides to be gay.
I have a childhood friend. She had been waiting 30 years for me just to tell her.
Oh,
and I always felt like I didn't need to tell her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but she felt like I owed that. She was owed that.
You don't feel the need to say it, because if you were straight, you wouldn't feel the need to say, oh, I'm straight. Have you ever felt like you've been discriminated against by the black community as a whole?
There's discrimination even within our own community.
For sure.
People always say they won't date the bisexual, but they are always knocking on my door.
A lot of trans women didn't identify with Caitlyn because she still moved as a white man. If you could go back to the beginning of your life, and if you could choose your sexuality, would you choose to be heterosexual?
This is going to get good.
I had this idea to do this conversation. I'm calling it Telling Our Stories, a conversation with black queer men and women. I wanted this conversation to be an opportunity for us to bridge the gap. We're not here to try to change anybody's mind. It's just a free-for-all conversation. There are no right or wrong answers. Do you think there's some movement where gay people are trying to turn out straight people?
I think that is a thing.
I'm not really interested in straight men because y'all don't clean y'all ass well.
Oh my God.
If we're gonna keep it all the way 100.
I was 12.
Was it consensual?
No. She throws me into the bathroom. That's when the situation happened.
A straight black person that's been shot or killed, the entire black community is expected to show up on the front lines. Mm-hmm. But when a black, queer person, trans, gay, whatever, is killed, the black community as a whole isn't necessarily showing up.
That's right.
Who playing with people's feelings in these days? They might kill you, your mama, you, your brother. They might take it out of your car. I just don't play with people because I don't want anybody to play with me.
Who will say your roommate? I'm like, oh, that's my husband. I would rather lose a woman to a woman than I would rather lose a woman to a man. It's just who I am. Like, you accept people for who they are. And that's just it.
Telling Our Stories, a conversation with black queer men and women. How did you feel after your first sexual experience?
It was painful.
I didn't ask you how did it feel physically. I meant on an emotional level. There's always a whore in the building. Coming Monday, June 5th at 9 p.m. only on YouTube. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode.